Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Weber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the I Love Coaching podcast. My name is Adam Roach. I am your host, along with my co-host,
Jess Weber. And Adam, I'm so excited for today. I'm stoked for this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good one. Jess, first, before we dive into that, what's new in your world?
Ooh, what's new? I am diving into that program that I referenced, my business freedom framework, that I've been building. And it's been fun to try to, put everything in my brain on paper in a way that's actually digestible for another human. We met through content building and course creation and all of that 3 years ago. And it still is such a place that brings me joy. And so I was up at 11 o'clock last night. My husband was like, "You're going to be mad at yourself if you don't go to bed. You need to get off the computer." But I was just like in build mode, having a blast. So,
well, I was up at 11 o'clock last night too. And I didn't even share this with you. So this is live to the world right now. I booked a trip to Turkey to go get hair plugs.
Seriously? No, it's April Fool's, you jerk. You should not be doing that because this is not being released on April Fool's.
Hey, today's April 1st. Gotcha.
Think about that for only a split second.
I'm
like, Adam, you've never talked about hair. Oh, wait, what is today? I'd be sad. I'd miss all the bald head jokes. And honestly, when I see old photos of you with hair, it really throws me off. Like you rock the bald head in a way that
easiest hairstyle on the planet. I get a haircut every day. It's great. It only takes me like 3 minutes to get myself a haircut.
Well, I told you.
So mad. She's like, when you wash in the shower, why do you use soap on your head? I'm like, what am I going to use? Shampoo? Shampoo
right.
For hair. There's no hair up there yet.
Well, I'm mad at you because I think it makes your morning routine with working out every day easier because for women, it's either, is it an up hair day, a down hair day? Is it a wash day? Is it a dry shampoo day? Like, how many days can I stretch this? Oh my God, I'm oily or sweaty or whatever the hell it is. And so I'm like, you can literally shower every day with no issue. And it takes like 5 seconds and there's no styling. There's no drying. There's no hair gel. There's nothing. And it's not fair. Except at the same time, I have no desire to be bald.
Well, actually, that is a good segue into what we're talking about today, which is time, which is the understanding. Now, entrepreneurs, just sit down and shut up. Don't get mad. Don't get mad when I say this, but entrepreneurs suck at time. Right? They suck at time blocking. They suck with their time. We're just not good with time. Right, Jess? So that's what we're going to unpack today is your time. I love this because I heard this so many years ago, and I'm sure so many of our listeners have heard this too. There's no such thing as time management. Right? There really is no such thing as time management. You can't manage time. Stop. You cannot manage time. The only thing you can manage is yourself. So take the word time management and remove that from your vocabulary and put your first name there in the middle. Adam management, Jess management. Insert your name, and that's what we're going to talk about for the next who knows how long, Jess, in this podcast.
I love that. Well, and see, I think of it as, entrepreneurs are constantly seeking more money, usually, or more opportunity for themselves, or more time. And to me, the most precious of those three resources is time, because everybody has the exact same amount. And so, different people can have different levels of wealth. They can have different opportunities, but everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. And so I do think it's a really important conversation because, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly seeking opportunity. We're constantly seeking income. And yet nobody is seeking more time, or they're not outright saying that. And that just blows my mind.
Well, it's so neat because we've now been in this world, this man's world, Dan Martell, for the last going on 3 years. And what did he write? He wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time. right? So you can't ever go get more time, but you sure shit can go buy back your time. So let's start to unpack this, right? Because time is the really the only asset you have, right? If you think about the stories that we've all heard of the people on their deathbed, they wish they would have done more with something, right? More time with their family, more time with their presence, those types of things. And you can't get time back. So let's unpack today how to be really intentional and really specific with your time, because I'm a time freak, right? I love time. I love time blocking, and I love looking at the intentionality of the time. So let's unpack this. So first, let's go into the space of why are entrepreneurs bad at time blocking?
It's the thing that they, I think, sacrifice because they're so eager to achieve a goal or a vision. So they put the seeking of success before strategic time blocking, right? It's, I will work a little harder, work a little longer, let go of this one thing to do this other thing because that's going to be the pivotal thing that changes my trajectory. So, like I said, they don't see time as their most valuable resource. They see wealth or opportunity as their most valuable resource.
That's very true. And we've heard this so many different times that time on task, and then you can always add beats talent all day long. But the challenge is the time on the task. There aren't many entrepreneurs that will only go an inch wide and a mile deep. They'll go a mile wide and an inch deep, right? And so when they have, as you said, that focus of success, sometimes they get diluted focus in that space of where should I only go an inch wide and yet a mile deep, right? I think they lose clarity on this specific focus. I mean, you and I have a tracker that is, hold on, I have it open right here. It is how many lines deep? Gosh, it's roughly over about 100 lines deep, yet we only really focus right now on one line.
Correct. But that's the point, is we are intentional with our learning and we are intentional with our time. And so what we've done is we've been strategic with a tracker like that, because too many times people can look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I have to control all those metrics. Everything I'm doing has to move all those metrics forwards week over week. And yet what we have done is we have identified, well, these metrics impact this thing and this thing is the goal. So that goal is the one that we're going to look at. And then our activities, our time, our energy, our next right thing all impact the one metric that we've chosen to focus on. And by focusing on that metric, the other ones grow and increase organically.
Back to what you said there is entrepreneurs have a tendency to focus on success, right? They want to have success versus staying in the weeds and getting dirty for a while, because success is a lag measure, right? The doing is the lead measure. But here's the interesting part. This is just my opinion, because I've been there before, is success is such an emotional feeling, right? It's like, I'm going to hit $1 million. I'm going to hit $5 million. I'm going to hit $10 million. And my world will open up. The joy I'm going to have when that happens. There's such emotion wrapped around it. And yet when it comes to the practice of time blocking for a specific inch wide, mile deep activity, they don't carry that same energy or that same emotion into that, in my opinion, into that one action, right?
Right.
Like, oh, shit, I got to go do this again, blah, blah, blah. And they become whiny little brats.
Yeah. But I think the reason they're doing that is because going a mile deep doesn't mean like, it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere, right? You're going deep. You're not going up. It feels like a negative trajectory. And yet at the same time, when you go the mile deep, you become the expert and you know exactly what to avoid and exactly what to do. And you see your consistency compound and you see the results much larger, so exponentially larger, but also faster if you've spent the time and energy only focusing on the one thing. And I'm not saying the one thing as in the book One Thing, although that's a fantastic one. I actually love the acronym from Robert Kiyosaki of follow one course until successful, focus. And you and I have adopted that in everything we do, whether it's looking at our metrics and our tracker, whether it's actions we're taking to move the business forward, or even our calendars. Like if you go look at our calendars, it is not drastically spread out across 427 different verticals. We are focusing on one thing, which is building I Love Coaching as a community for coaches to change and serve 100 million lives. And everything we do, from our meetings to our lead generation and lead follow-up, to our content creation, to all of the operational nitty-gritty, all is in alignment with that one thing.
Yeah. So we'll give you some behind the scenes look as to what Jess and I do here to build $1 million community of coaches. Is we have bookends, right? And the bookends of time are Mondays for 90 minutes. Every Monday for the same 90 minutes, we follow the traction book L10, and that's a level 10 meeting. Now, we've modified that to our own approach to it, though we had an
EOS implementer.
EOS, yeah. We had an EOS implementer for nearly 2 years, an incredible coach that gave us the framework, and then we decided to do it on our own. So every Monday, we do that for 90 minutes. We look at all of our metrics, and we also understand what is the single focus metric that we're looking at. Every Friday, we book in the week with the catch-up of the week, right? So we set the intentions, the to-dos of the week. We catch back up on Friday, and then Monday we do it all over again. So the crazy part is we actually get to see each other Mondays and Fridays. And while that may feel like that's a long length of time for some entrepreneurs, it's really not, because that's our to-do time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we set the intentions at the first of the week, and then throughout the week, we look at the metrics that we are looking to achieve. We look at the action items that we know we have to take, which is the inch wide, mile deep. And then we go execute on those throughout the week in our time, right?
Well, that, and one thing that I think is important to have a conversation around here as well is, Adam technically employed me 2.5 years ago as an independent contractor, but we don't live in the same city. We don't operate in the same office or same space. And so there's a level of trust and autonomy that's built through that time and that singular focus. And so we don't feel like we need a daily meeting. We don't have an end of day report of what did you actually do, because all of that is micromanaging. And yet I think Adam would agree with me in the fact that we've moved this business way further in terms of changes and modifications and things like that than he had done with somebody previously in the role, because of the fact that we've built this level of trust and autonomy, and we've built a system around our time. So you never question what I'm doing day to day, because on Monday, I say, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is how far I will get by Friday. And then we check in on Friday, and I tell you if I achieve that or if I need more time and why I need more time.
The world can't be so lucky as me to have a Jess Weber. And here's what I mean by that. Now, here's one thing that we do have to listen and expose here. I believe there's 2 types of people. There are accountable people, and there are those that need to be held accountable, right? You are an accountable person, which means if you say you're going to do something, you follow through with it and you get it done. Now, that isn't something that came right out of the gate, and I was like, oh my gosh, Jess is going to be an accountable person. That is something that we had to develop over time based on tracking. Right? Based on tracking. And the tracking shows that, right? Tracking, if you are in a time block space and you are getting something done, right? That's our number one value. Our value inside of I Love Coaching, number one value outside of Be Real is GSD. Get shit done. Right? That's it. That is a second value of our value system. And well, we have Be Real, get it done, and do it all while having fun. Those are our 3 values.
Yes.
Though you are an accountable person, and because we go an inch wide and a mile deep, you know how to time block your time to get stuff done. I'll give you an example. This is fascinating. I have a client, a relatively new one-on-one coaching client. He's a builder, and gosh, he is so successful. Though we're working on new outbound lead gen strategies for him, and he didn't know his numbers. He didn't know his metrics. And we talk every 2 weeks. And so I gave him 14 days of a runway, and he had a goal. He had a goal that he had committed to having 10 conversations with 10 architects. And he came 2 weeks later, and he hadn't hit the goal. Now, why hadn't he hit the goal? It wasn't that he wasn't an accountable person, because he's built a multi-million-dollar building company, construction company, but he had never done that before. He didn't know the time that it would take. He didn't know how much time he had to time block. And we actually went back and we looked at his time, and the time that it took for him to reach out to people, he would have had to almost 5-fold his time block to hit the goal of 10. He only met with 3 architects in that 14-week period. but his time blocks were so sporadic that of course he wasn't going to have success because, well, he didn't know his numbers.
Oh, well, you're also saying that other word that I feel like is a dirty word for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those with ADHD, because they don't know how to use it, and that's time blocking. So here's the thing that I have learned, and I am an ADHD entrepreneur, so I speak from experience here. Time blocking can be your greatest asset or your worst enemy if it's done right, versus executed poorly or not executed at all. And so for me, time blocking is a tool that first and foremost, my calendar has accountable to other people meetings on it first, right? They're non-negotiable. I can't move them because it's a client, it's a meeting with you, it's a event that we host live, it's something like that. Those are what live on my calendar ongoing, right? Any meeting that I'm accountable to another human. Otherwise, there's white space on my calendar because I want to make sure that I am intentional with my time in the day that I'm working in. So I am not ever going to tell somebody, you have to put lead generation on your calendar from the same time block, 8 to like 10 a.m. every single day, Monday to Friday, or 7 days a week. Because life gets in the way. Doctor's appointments happen, kids happen, spouses happen, natural disasters happen, right? And so I only fill in my white space the day of, or maybe at the end of day for the next day, based on what I need to get done. And I think that is something that people fail at. They think time blocking means duplicate this thing for the same time every day. And then they get mad when they have to move their blocks because something else got in the way.
Well, I call it margin, right? You have to build in margin of your day. Unless it is a set meeting with an individual, you have to have margin in your day. Now, here's the thing that I love to use this analogy, and I've used this forever, is budgeting, right? Let's look at budgeting for money. When you budget for money, you're giving your pennies a name, right? You give your pennies a name. And let's just say that you bring in $20,000 a month of revenue. Every one of those pennies should have a name that should go somewhere. And if it doesn't have a name, okay, it'll go wherever the hell it wants to. Same thing with your time. If your time doesn't necessarily have a name, it'll go wherever it wants to. Now, I'm a fan of no white space, but here's the difference. If I see a white space, I'm going to put in there for my own mental sake, flex time, right? And flex time to me is going to be exactly what it sounds like. I can flex. I can do what I need to do in that time. If I want to work on some social media, if I want to work on lead follow-up, if I want to go have lunch in my flex time space, I'm leaving this chair right here, this office, and I'm going to go have some lunch, right? That's my flex time. Though outside of that, it is very intentional in the time block space for me because that is the activity that is either producing revenue or I'm finding talent. That's the only two things I want to do, produce revenue or find talent. And that's all my calendar shows.
Exactly. But you have something else that I didn't mention, and that's bookends to your day. So I think that's another thing is, so you're accountable to other people, right? With meetings, and we can talk about how many is too many, but you're also accountable to yourself. When are you starting and when are you stopping? Because you don't want to work 24/7. And so many entrepreneurs, they might put the meetings on the calendar, but they don't put the bookends. So to me, that is the place to start if you find yourself spending too much of your time and not naming your pennies, right? Or naming your minutes. And so what I'm saying is my white space between my bookends, I am very intentional with blocking it out based on what I know needs to get done, starting with our L10 and being efficient and effective in the business. So there are because I'm an operator and an integrator, there are things I have to do. I have to pay bills. I have to manage emails. I have to write newsletters and all those things. But I don't have those on my calendar for hours on end. I don't have those just on my to-do list. I'm very intentional with, okay, Monday, let's do our L10. And then I'm going to set up all the things I need to do for the week so that I have white space Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to accomplish the to-do that I promised, in my L10 on Monday. So I'm still very intentional, and it's not white space for the sake of white space. It's white space to move the goal forward, but also be able to adjust. Like yesterday, I had some space on my calendar that I was going to use for the to-do, but at the same time, you asked me to step in and have a conversation that I needed to have. And because I knew what I was doing and where things were, and you could see my calendar and I could see my calendar, I was able to do that for you. But it didn't mess up my entire rest of the week and every single time block I'd laid out, because I'd only laid out my time blocks for yesterday. And so I could just very quickly adjust and then say, oh, that thing that I was going to do in this, either I can get it done later or I can move it to tomorrow, but that's the furthest it's going to move.
Yep, that's good. So let's talk about what's sexy for an entrepreneur, right? What causes people to become entrepreneurs? Well, I think it's three things: freedom, flexibility, and money. They can be free to do what they want to do when they want to do it. Flexibility. They can create a widget and sell it. They can create anything they want to and become either a category king or queen, or they can rise through the ranks and do whatever they want. There is no limit on being an entrepreneur. And then money, there's no limit on your money. There's no limit on your money you can make as an entrepreneur. Now, pause, period. Let's go to what takes an entrepreneur out of being an entrepreneur and back into the cage of a W-2. No offense if you have a W-2. W-2, if you want to go back to being a W-2, what's going to take you there is your freedom, flexibility, and money. What takes you into being an entrepreneur? Freedom, flexibility, and money. What gets you out of it? Freedom, flexibility, and money. The freedom, you don't know what to do with your freedom. The flexibility, oh my gosh, I have so much time. I can do what I want. I'm not focusing on what I need to focus on. And oh my gosh, I'm not making any money. Mm-hmm. And so I think the point of this whole podcast, Jess, is being an entrepreneur that sucks at their time block or sucks at understanding where they should go an inch wide and a mile deep is going to take them out of being an entrepreneur real fast. We see it all the time.
Well, I think back to working with brand new real estate agents when I was in real estate. And so many of them did exactly what you were talking about. They were looking for freedom, flexibility, and money. And then they were like, well, how do I become a top agent as a new agent? And I would like, well, you have to time block and you have to do the same activities over and over again and go an inch wide and a mile deep on whatever niche you want to be known for in real estate. And you have to call your people and do the things. And they're like, wait, so you mean this is basically like a 40-hour, consistent job? And I was like, well, your time block doesn't have to start at 9 and end at 5. It doesn't have to be Monday to Friday. But you have to be intentional with your time, and you have to be able to audit what you need to do to give yourself the freedom, the flexibility, and the money that you're seeking. Because there's going to be activities that do that, and you're going to have to do those activities consistently. So if you're an entrepreneur that, your brain doesn't work until after 10 a.m., that's great. Build in your morning routine or whatever, and then build out your business activities starting at 10 and ending at whatever. I don't care what your start time and your end time are. I don't care what days you're doing this on, but I do care that you're systematic in your approach, because that systematic approach is going to create the compounding consistency.
And by doing that, you'll protect your freedom, protect your flexibility. You will protect your money when you get intentional with your time, because time will go wherever it wants to. If you don't tell your time where you're going and what you're doing, your time will sure shit tell you where you're going and what you're doing.
Yes. Right? Well, the whole work will fill to the time allowed concept. That's why I freaking love time blocks, because to me, I gamify everything. Okay, I estimate this thing will take me 30 minutes. Nothing should ever take you 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, because you're going to just waste half that time scrolling on your phone or something. But I love to gamify it to earn the right to get back more time for something else. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I need to write this newsletter. I have a framework and a system for it. It still does take me roughly 30 minutes. But if I can do it in 25, then I earn 5 minutes back to do something else with. That's freedom and flexibility that I'm seeking, but I've still done the dollar producing activity to make me my money. Newsletter is just a silly example, but it's the same thing for anything that's moving your business forward. Every time you put something on the calendar, you should be able to identify, is this growing my business through revenue producing activity, or like you said, talent, or like feeding the metrics that you're tracking to grow the business, right? And so if you can't audit your calendar and audit your time blocks and say, yes, this is a dollar producing activity, or this is growing my vision, or this is feeding me like my goals, then it shouldn't be on your calendar. And that's why I wanted to circle back to meetings with team members. Oh my goodness gracious. I cannot believe how many people have a daily meeting Or they'll have a morning set the day meeting and they'll have an end of day report. I'm like, what the actual flip? Like, again, and that goes back to your, accountable versus being held accountable type person. But it also goes back to a lack of trust, not hiring the right talent, not giving autonomy in a space. And I'm a person who's very effective and efficient. So like I do struggle to let things go. But one thing from that book that's right behind you, Buy Back Your Time, that's one of my favorite quotes is 80% done by somebody else is still 100% awesome.
Yeah, that's very, very, very true. Now, I want you to just real quick, let's land this plane because I love that segment that you gave there is auditing your time. Mm-hmm. So share with them, even though this is basic, some people may not know it. When you're in your Google Calendar, you can actually, we've heard color coding for so long, but you can categorize your actual time, right? So for example, I'm looking at mine right now and it has client coaching, coach calls, personal coaching, meetings, podcast, lead generation, default, and that's what gets tracked on my calendar based on the color. Walk them through how to do that.
Yeah. So if you have a Google Workspace account, it doesn't work in a free @Gmail account. You have the ability to utilize color coding to actually give you time insights. And that's the language inside Google Calendar. And so what Adam's referring to is we set up his calendar and mine's actually a little different, but you can use the colors to actually categorize and label. And then every time you put something on your calendar, if you choose one of those labels, it will give you insights into how much time per day, per week, per month, or even per year you are spending in each of those categories. So I have been doing this very intentionally now for 3 years. And so I can literally go back and say, I spent this much time in meetings. I've spent this much time with clients. I've spent this much time in learning and creation, spent this much time teaching. I've spent this much time traveling. Like I literally put it all in my calendar. And because it is a fascinating thing to say, okay, this week felt rough. Let me go back and look at my time insights and see where I spent my time. And then I can be like, well, damn, usually my average meeting time is 4 hours and I spent 12 in there. That's a whole day extra that I spent in meetings that I don't usually do, right? Or things like that. And it allows you to be intentional and help you audit. And if putting as many categories as Adam listed is overwhelming, I tell people to start with time insights with dollar producing activity and non-dollar producing activity. And you can start there and just be like, I'm going to put dollar producing activities on all the things that make me money. And then you can start saying, oh, I didn't need to do that thing. Oh, that meeting didn't make me money. Oh, that. And you can start being intentional in a small baby step. And then you can get more granular as you get comfortable with it.
That's good. That's really good. Well, here we are at the end. We're landing this plane. And entrepreneurs, you don't suck at time blocking anymore because we just gave you some good insight on how to not suck at time blocking or how to really engage your time at a very efficient, effective, and revenue producing way, right? Mm-hmm. That's the intention of this podcast is for you to be able to step into a space and really be intentional with your time versus not.
I love it. So if you like this content, you want more content like this, make sure that you go to ilovecoachingco.com and grab our newsletter, join the list. And we are sending out a ton of stuff like this because again, we want to keep the emails short and simple and effective for your time.
That's right. Very effective. And by the way, Jess, I think we're up to over 10,000 people on that newsletter now. Congratulations. Way to go.
Thank you. Now I need it to have an extra 0 or 2 on the end. I'm working towards your 100 million lives.
We are getting there. We are definitely getting there. Well, thank you everybody for your time and we will see you next time. Have a good day. See you.